President Trump heading up to New Hampshire tonight for a rally ahead of tomorrow's Democratic primary. The president looking to grab some of the spotlight before the vote. Joining us now live is the governor of New Hampshire, Republican Chris Sununu. Governor, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, you're going to be heading up on Air Force Two with the vice president ahead of the president leaving Washington after these meetings with governors, including yourself this morning. We're going to be hearing from the president about 11 a.m. Eastern. What do you look to hear from the president tonight at this rally?
Positivity, right? When you look at the success that he has had for the economy, that as we all know, that creates opportunity for families, income opportunity, better quality of life, all of these things. Those are a lot of his successes, and he can and should take a little bit of a march on that, because the country is doing very, very well. Never mind the negativity out of Washington. New Hampshire is doing very well. He's been a big part of that. The USMCA agreement's been passed, the regulatory reform, all of these things are his successes, and that's what he's going to be talking about.
Governor, when you say positivity, the president's critics are immediately going to say, well, what about the president's tweets? What about his attacks on senators like Joe Manchin and Mitt Romney, who voted against him in the impeachment trial? What are you hearing from your voters in New Hampshire, where people like politics to be kind of a more quiet and decent sport, shall we say? Well,
it's not that we like our politics quiet. We like people that are genuine. We like people that aren't phonies, that don't just tell us one thing and do another. Whether you agree or not with this president, his policies or his successes, the fact is he says what he means and he means what he says. And there's something very genuine about that, and that's why he won in the primary handedly in 2016. That's what you're seeing with some of these other candidates on the Democrat side right now. The ones that are clearly phonies, that are placating, that are just pandering to constituents, those are the folks that are falling off. Bernie does well, not because he's a progressive socialist. He does well because whether you like his views or not, he's pretty genuine about them, right? He is a socialist, and he's pretty upfront about that. And there's something very genuine. So in terms of the base, that's where in New Hampshire he's going to galvanize and why he'll likely win tonight.
I want to get to the
New Hampshire. We want our politicians to be people first.
Absolutely, and we'll get to the president's political stand in a moment. But let's stay on the Democrats. So you just raised a big primary, obviously coming tomorrow. Let's look at the totals are finally in from Iowa. Buttigieg with 14 delegates, just edging out Bernie Sanders at 12. Warren 8, Biden 6, Klobuchar 1. Let's first start with the politics of it all. What's your sense of what we're hearing these reports this morning of Amy Klobuchar suddenly surging in your state?
I have no doubt that she's surging. The fact is that as we all know, there's kind of this progressive socialist base. There's more of a moderate Democrat base, and they're in a giant fracture. I don't think it ever truly gets healed through this election process. So the moderates are looking at Biden making slip up after slip up after slip up. They're looking to galvanize around someone, so they're going to look for a Klobuchar, or I think for a while there it was Tulsi Gabbard. Again, those folks are ones that, again, don't just try to placate, tell it like it is. When they asked all those candidates the other night in New Hampshire, would you have a problem with a socialist at the top of the ticket? Klobuchar was the only one that had the bravery to raise her hand and say, well, of course we would. Of course America would, right? And so that type of genuine honesty is why she's going to do well.
Quickly, on the Iowa results, it's become a national punchline, as you know, that probably sits well with you trying to keep New Hampshire's first in the nation primary status. You've promised that the primary is going to be, quote unquote, perfect. We heard that from some of the Iowa leaders heading into their caucuses, and it didn't work out. What can you promise the people of New Hampshire about what we're going to see tomorrow?
Look, New Hampshire has had the first in the nation primary for 100 years. It's not just a tradition. It's something you take very responsibly. It's 100 years of responsibility in that one person, one vote, they get counted, you get the results every single time. And we have a whole different process. We're not run by campaigns. We're not run by political parties. We're run with the Attorney General's office and the Secretary of State's office. It's a nonpartisan process. We get it right, and we're very proud of that. And it's not by accident. We take it very, very seriously. And that's why you see such high voter turnout, why you see such great diversity amongst those Republicans, Democrats, independents. Everyone participates in that process.
Last question. You mentioned a moment ago that the president won the New Hampshire primary going away almost 4 years ago. He just barely was edged out by Hillary Clinton in your state in the general election. You mentioned the good economic numbers, a story the president has to tell. What does he have to do tonight and in the days ahead to get those 4 electoral votes?
At the end of the day, I think it's okay to tell people to be selfish with their vote, right? People should vote what's in their own interest. And when you look at the economic prosperity, the prosperity and the opportunity he's bringing to families, that individual liberty that's there, that's exactly what folks in New Hampshire want. And when they go into that ballot box, that's why they're going to be pulling the lever. And Donald Trump is going to win New Hampshire because we kind of match our pro-business message with his economic success.
Republican Governor Chris Sununu, the world will be watching your state tomorrow and in the hours in the immediate aftermath to make sure it all goes well. We appreciate you coming in this morning.
Thank you. We'll get it right.
All right. Thanks, Governor.